What's up, listeners? Welcome to another episode of Wow, I Can Talk Now, the podcast. In this pod, we're going to talk about the CFL Draft first, talk about the Leafs just keep rolling down the river, and the Baby Jays, of course, they just keep rolling as well. The Raptors, they have hit a little bit of a dry spell, but then almost beat the Washington Wizards. And also, I'm going to talk a little bit about the Rangers situation and their dispute with George Peros, and that led to the eventual firing of John Davidson and GM alike. So there's a lot of stuff going on in this pod. So starting off with the CFL Draft, typically there's not usually too much big dramas in the CFL Draft, but this one was, because the number one pick wasn't even supposed to go in the top 5, apparently, from the information I got from First Up right after the draft. I love the pick for Hamilton. JB was on the Pat's practice squad, so he has experience with different guys and different processes and coaches. So I think that'll be very good for the Hamilton organization and their teammates. Terrell Jenna actually was supposed to go number 1. He eventually went 17th. And I love the Argos' first and second rounder, the offensive liners, in order to protect our new quarterback, Nick Arbuckle. We need some protection for him. And the defensive line in the third round, there's another good, useful pick, and safe as well. For the Baby Jays, they officially made their announcement that they're going to be moving to Buffalo for the June 1st series. And it's good for the players so it doesn't get too hot, so they don't end up straining themselves or injuring themselves unnecessarily because they have to give more effort or because they have to drink more water, this and that because of the extra heat. But also it'll give a nice jolt to the Buffalo area, both economically and culturally. Because of the pandemic and because of the Sabres, they haven't had much to cheer about or to get excited about. So hoping that the Blue Jays and the Bisons, assuming the Bisons play this year, will give them a nice little thing to take their mind off of whatever's left of the pandemic in the United States. But it won't feel as good until they're back in Toronto, right? Until they're back at the Rogers Center under the dome and they're playing in front of us again. But it'll be one day. You just got to believe in one day. So Baby Jay's first game in Oakland, it was a tough 5-4 loss. But the second inning, which is usually the Blue Jays' hottest inning, was turned on them by the Oakland A's, and it ended up being 3-0 after that. However, the Baby Jays ended up tying it in the third. And in the fifth inning, Laureano gets a 2-run shot to take a go-ahead lead, and that ended up being 5 runs was enough, as the Jays just couldn't get enough, as the A's win 5-4. Definitely a tough loss, but the first game of a road trip, right? It was a long flight out from Dunedin, so definitely can give the Baby Jays a little bit of slack for that. But also the emotional strain it must have had on Marcus Semien, right? He looked just iffy or okay, so it could have affected the whole team as well, but definitely affected Semien the most. I think bats will be more alive at the next game and as the series goes on, especially in the heart of the order, and hopefully Semien gets it going. Second game against Oakland, it was a 4-1 loss, and Jed Lowry, not Brett. I thought it was Brett, but it's Jed. He always seems to get big hits against the Baby Jays. Got a multi-bag hit and contributed to a 4-0 lead. And the Jays could only muster 1 against a hot pitcher. So definitely not the bounce-back game I thought they were going to have, but just settling into Oakland, right? It's a 4-game series, right? So they're just only halfway through. So they just got to maintain focus, maintain composure, and just keep on going. So the third game against Oakland ended up being a 9-4 win. Well, when this game started and Semien walked to the plate, my dad's like, wait, who's this guy? And I was like, Marcus Semien, the greatest leadoff hitter of all time. And he's like, yeah, okay. And then he strikes out, and I'm like, yeah, maybe he's not. But Bo hit a big hit and comes home. That was awesome to see. Vladdy with a hit, and then Teo with an RBI. Randall with an easy pitch to get Vladdy home. It's about 2-0 right now. So that's pretty nice just by getting some singles. But then Laureano with another home run in the series makes it 2-1. The defense can throw guys sometimes, even on those hard hit balls or hard hit ground balls. Bo, Cavan, any one of them can throw them out. So Robbie Ray was ready tonight. He's still on his longest stretch without a walk. 23 strikeouts without a walk. So it's pretty impressive, especially going straight with that. To do that consecutively, I've seen it. It's very, very difficult to do, especially even with pitchers that at the minor league level, for my situation, were very much above the competition in terms of batting. But sometimes you just get the occasional pitch that misses, or occasional pitch that the batter can hit. So it's pretty good. So until the two dingers, but Romano came in and shut him down. So it was kind of boring until the 8th inning, right? It was still 2-1 and all that. When a few singles and a wild pitch sealed the game for Oakland, and the Jays got a bunch of runs on the board and ended up winning 9-4. Let's go. So for the last game, it ended up being a short one, about 7 innings, but that's all right because, gotta get out of there and get to the next city. So Ryu went 5 innings and with 4 earned runs, so an all right showing for him, but the bats definitely came through for him with 16 hits and 3 homers, with Simeon getting his first back at his home park, Grichuk, and Danny Jansen. So shout out Danny, keep doing it. Oakland had a good inning in the 3rd, but the top of the 6th, Teo and Grichuk were batted in 4 runs, so that's hard to come back from, and the Baby Jays end up winning 10-4. So for the first time in this podcast, I'm going to discuss a Senators game. It's Sens versus Montreal that I was watching with my dad, who's a Senators fan, self-deprecating Senators fan, just like I am a self-deprecating fan of the Leafs sometimes. Apple doesn't fall far. So the Sens brought a young grit and extra motivation to try to spoil the Habs' chances of moving up. The Habs won to get this win to get a series with Edmonton in the playoffs, but because Edmonton has played so poorly against Montreal that Montreal thinks they can get into the second round and maybe further, but we'll see. Shane Pinto gets his first goal and the puck too. 1-0 Ottawa. That was a really sick goal, so might as well keep the puck and the highlight. So Joel Edmondson makes it 1-1, which is cool, whatever. Brady makes it 2-1 with the 6 Sally, the shoulder shake and the tongue out, so it's pretty funny. 3-1 for the Sens, so now it's getting a significant lead here. It's coming up, and then Connor Brown looks like Austin Matthews with a big snapshot. It makes it 4-1. Rough stuff now that the game's over. Well, most of the game anyway. The Habs are taking some shots at these young Sens, and the Sens get another one to make it 5-1, and that ended up being the final score. And if you asked me or my dad if the Sens were going to beat the Habs even 3 goals, we wouldn't have believed, or wouldn't even put our money up. So a 5-1 win is definitely very positive for the Sens. If not for this year, then moving forward, right? They can be known as the feisty Sens instead of the pesky Sens, right? They were just keep fighting and just keep grinding, even though you may not be in it. So I heard the stat on Leafs Lunch. Coming into this game, Brooksy had 4 goals in the last 8 games, so hopefully he keeps that up coming into the playoffs. So the Leafs are going into Montreal on Monday, and Riley got the first goal of the game, and his first in a while, so love to see that. Montreal just grinding out the period to keep it close, keep it 1-0. They had some good opportunities on the power play, especially Cole, trying to get it 1, but it's all good. Kotkaniemi and Romanov give power play some jump, but with so many chances, but just no goals. Chance for the Leafs at the end of the first, but no. And then finally Tyler Toffoli ties it up in the power play. If you give them enough power play chances, they're going to take them every once in a while. It was 2-1 for the Leafs in the third. And then Deneau, right at the end of the game, me, my dad, and my brother were all huddling around the TV and in the last minute just to see if they were going to do it. And Deneau just snuck it in and ties the game. And then Cole Caulfield comes in and scores it in overtime and becomes the first player since, there's only like 3 players to get overtime goals in their first 2 games. Hasn't happened since like the 80s, but then before that, it hadn't happened since 1930, so it's pretty impressive. The Leafs still get the point, so it's all good. We'll move on to the next game. So next game happens to be, I assume, a playoff preview because it's Montreal in Toronto. So let's get it going here. And 15 seconds, Alex Galchenyuk scores a backhand, so he was ready for it. So, and it was into the bottom corner from a bouncing puck too. So I don't know how he settled that down and just managed to shovel it in, but oh well. Assisted by Willie and Captain John. So let's go. And terrible defense and bad turnovers leads to the Captain John getting a goal, and assisted by Muzz, make it 2-0 Leafs. The Leafs came into this game 0 for 24 on the at home for the power play. So definitely not something to want to continue. But the Leafs got first one, or the Leafs' first power play had a lot of chances, but just not shots. Pierre Engvall, the giraffe, gets a bad angle goal with an assist from Spezza on his 5th. Even my dad didn't think this one went in, but it definitely did. And then Mitch slides this one past Sherratt to make it 4-0. I didn't think that one went in. And woof, how many more times are these Habs going to miss the net? Because the Leafs lead is only going to get bigger. So, it's the first time this season that the Leafs have had 4 goals in the first period. So that's actually crazy because they've been so dominant all season. But whatever. Justin Hall makes an unbelievable pull to save a goal. Even with that cage on, he can still make some defensive plays. So I love it. And Mikheyev, you got to put those shots in to break into the playoff roster. Even though we're up 4-0, let's go. And after the first period, the young guy Caden Primo got chased for Allen, and he comes in to try to salvage the game somehow. Nick Suzuki came into this game with a 7-point streak going, and Corey Perry sets up Cole Caulfield in the his third in 6 games to make it 4-1. Jack Campbell blanked Nick Suzuki to keep that score and streak in tow. Brody makes a good defensive play on Josh Anderson, even though he got a penalty. Even though he got beat, he didn't let him just get around and just get a free shot. How many times are these Habs going to miss the net? It's been at least half of their shots have missed the net. Corey Perry and Muzz getting into it at the end of the second. Scores 4-2 at this point. Leafs penalty kill box shifted and moved with the puck for most of the Alex Galchenyuk penalty, which I like. Mickey throwing it down the ice, smart guy. Good kill with 0 shots on goal. So, and then Mitch Marner to Austin Matthews for the bajillionth time, and Matthews gets 40 goals in under 56 games. So that's pretty good. I like that. And Matthews is the second fastest Leaf to get to 40 goals over Rick Vive. So one day he's going to break that record. One day. I know it. And it's the biggest moment on the Habs broadcast. So most of them tuned out pretty early. So 2 penalties on the same play, roughing for Perry and tripping for Caulfield. Typically you only see that in the NHL games, like the video games, but it's all good. And the 5-2 score will hold up. The 4-goal period at the first was a killer. Back-to-back games hurt Montreal in back-to-back nights. So 13 of the last 18 games for the Habs, they've scored 2 goals or less still. But it's a good playoff outlook for the Buds. It's a good team win. Even with Freddie not in there, they were still able to stay focused and keep scoring and just keep maintaining the lead and not let it get away from them. So Jack now officially has the most wins for a relief goalie in the first 20 games with 16, so that's pretty impressive. Mitch has assisted on 25 of Austin's 40 goals this season, currently having the fourth most productive season in franchise history. And if there was a full 82 games last year, Austin would have broke Rick Vive's record with 55 goals. And if there was an 82 game this year, he would have broke his own record with 67. Math contributed by my study partner, Steve Dangle. Don't know if you're familiar with Steve, but he's a cool guy. So moving on to the Raptors, I'm going to sum up some of the games that I didn't watch because family stuff, don't bother me about it. Anyway, so they won against the Lakers, but that was due mostly to LeBron leaving early and Kyle, actually being allowed to play and actually being allowed to try hard and be the GOAT that we all know he is. But anyway, it was only a 7-point win, 121-114. Then took a tough loss to Denver the next night, so yeah, whatever. We can come back against the Clippers. It's all right. Oh, wait. We lost in a buzzer beater type game in, the very last minute of fourth quarter. What? Come on, guys. 105, 100. We're done. We're done. That's it. Wait, we're playing the Wizards next? Okay, no, never mind. We're going to play the Wizards. It was all good. Game against the Wizards. Biggest game of the season because if we beat the Wizards, we still have a chance in the play-in. If we don't, then we have a chance at the lottery. So let's go. The 33rd different starting lineup of the season for the Raptors, which just highlights how weird the season has been in total. So it's been kind of weird because 33-31 was the lead after one. And they were winning by 4 coming into the fourth quarter with only 5 minutes left. It was only 1. So this game was pretty intense, back and forth. And that was what the Wizards radio personality that I heard on first up on before the Wizards game. That's what he said, that the Wizards take their games to the last minute, and usually, probably it's because of Russ and Beal. They know that how long a game actually is, and they know how to finish or a quarter or a game when they need to most. Speaking of Westbrook, he is 2 triple-doubles away from breaking Oscar Robertson's triple-double record and permanently destroying that man's legacy in the NBA. I don't know what beef he has against Oscar, but anyway. The win likelihood in this game was actually around 60-65% most of the game, so this was pretty intense. Knicks' faces have been the best and the worst part of the season. The best for, the points whenever you're so confused, and then they just pan to Nick and he's just as confused as you are, and that's pretty funny. Or the times when it's not good, whenever Nick's just yelling and screaming and huffing and puffing all over, and everyone's like, calm down, bro. So it's been a mixed bag with Nick. Beal, with ice in his veins, draws the foul and hits 2 out of the 3 for the late lead, and as soon as he hit those, I was like, yes! And then my dad was like, how can you cheer against the Raptors? I'm like, because I want a lottery pick. I want to see a lottery pick in my lifetime for the Raptors. Stanley Johnson forces a jump ball after Siakam misses his first free throw, and the Raptors are forced to foul at the end of the game. Choke Pascal, oh my goodness. Beal wins the jump ball, and Lopez gets fouled. Hits his 2 free throws. Forced the Raps to make a 3, and then Freddie on a leaner shot absolutely nails the dagger to force to overtime. The first overtime that the Raptors have been in this season. That's actually, I didn't even know that. I went through the whole season, without even ever realizing that they were in overtime or have never gone there. So here we go. So the start of overtime is pretty decent. It's back and forth. And all of a sudden it's 124-120 with 45 seconds left. And then an overturned foul call, which I guess so, yeah, gives Lopez 2 free throw shots, and he wins the game for the Wizards. Like, he just turned into Steph Curry at the free throw line. I don't even know. It's a tough loss to the Raptors, but they kept it close, 126-120. Overall, it was a decent victory as Gary Trent Jr. got 20 plus points. Siakam got 44, which tied his season high in 30 plus minutes, shooting a hot 53%. Ken Burch getting 15 points and 6 rebounds, shooting 46%. Please sign that guy up, Masai. And please sign, I want you to sign Masai. So for the analysis section for this podcast, we're going to discuss why did the Rangers fire Davidson and Gordon? Like, they were doing so well with the rebuild. Like, what happened? Well, my opinion is that controversy doesn't create cash to Dolan. The one thing that creates cash to Dolan is himself. And I think to him, or I say to him, if you're going to step in the ring, know who you're fighting against and the environment you're fighting in. Meaning, go get a hockey guy who knows the arena and the sport that you're going to be running by yourself or in conjunction with the guy that you bring on. I hate to say John Ferguson Jr., but at least he's been around and he knows what a front office runs like and how to find the right people to form a front office. So, the Knicks just got out from under his watchful eye, and he shouldn't mess with the Rangers like he messed with them. By the way, the Knicks are my playoff dark horse in the East, and in the West, I'll tell you next pod. Just, you gotta tune in to find out. Tom Wilson should have been suspended. I'm just gonna say it. The Rangers management that was fired had an awesome response on Twitter, and the line brawl was awesome in response, because the response on Twitter was just the most I want to say apolitical, but it was the most apolitical but searing statement about George Peros that I've ever seen. And actually a lot of people came behind George Peros and was like, no, he's a good guy, he's this and that. And I'm like, I mean, he has made mistakes, and his office doesn't run as efficiently as it could, right? It doesn't give out punishment the way it could, right? So, and the Rangers were fined $250,000 and forced to fall in line and to delete the tweet and be like, oh no, we're sorry, we didn't mean it, for unreasonable speaking against the NHL, as the NHL and their parties have determined. It could be a very sticky place if they're not careful, because the players and fans may feel slighted because the players are like, well, who's really fighting for us up there, right, in the front office or in the ownership suite? And the fans, they just got the Rangers just got their identity back. They already bought their Lafreniere and Kako jerseys, so are they going to get traded, or like what's going to happen here, Dolan? So for the last section of this analysis section, and subsequently this podcast, is the goalie situation for the Toronto Maple Leafs. The pros and cons of the current backstoppers. The pros is that Freddie could come back as Fredzilla from a light workload, from just getting some AHL starts and getting a few low-risk NHL starts, just to make sure he's all ready for the playoffs would be nice. Dave can make big saves, so I love that. Campbell, of course, has the most wins of any Leafs goalie in the first 20 games, so got to make sure you note that. Only one guy can play at once, so, whoever's ready sometimes, then throw him in. And the training staff works hard, right? They've work hard to make sure Freddie is ready and he's progressing well, right? He's made sure that other guys that have dealt with injuries over this year have recovered well and have come back to the team. So they're on point. The cons, of course, is that Freddie will only get real competition or real competitive games in the playoffs, which could result in a lot of physical or mental stress on his body at once. The Leafs tend to play bad on back-to-backs / back-to-back playoff games. I know they'll probably try to avoid that this year just to spread out the content and all that, but if the Leafs get a back-to-back playoff game, I don't think they'll win very many of them. And if it's the whole series, then we're going to have to find a way, dig down deep and find a way. Campbell and Big Save Dave are typically backups, so they're not usually trusted to start. Playoffs are a different season, of course. If they make it to the third round, opposing fans may become an intangible factor, such as Vegas, Colorado, other places that allow fans, actual fans. The Leafs won't have too much experience with that over the season / the playoffs, so definitely a concern. So my most likely scenario is that Jack starts in the playoffs until he falters. Not the team defense not giving him help. Campbell has to give up at least 4 goals in quick succession that he should reasonably have in his glove or in as a rebound out of the net. If Jack falls, Fred should be physically and mentally ready to play. Big Save Dave isn't a bad help. We're really stuck button. Better than Hutch, but it's not ideal for a starting goalie on a championship contender. At the end of the day, if we're going to have the best chance of winning the Stanley Cup, and I can't believe I'm saying that, honestly, for the first time since 1967, we need Fredzilla, or we need half of Fredzilla, because if not, then we're going to have to outscore every single team every single night. And I think we can with the 4 forwards and the depth that we have now, but don't want to have to. So that will conclude this podcast episode number 9. I can't believe I could say that now. Anyway, if you want to connect with me, you can either do it on my Instagram, ch.llcanadian, which is preferred, or I'm going to get a YouTube channel set up, or something similar to that set up here, Twitter. Definitely a Twitter setup, so once that comes out, I'll let you know. Once YouTube comes out, I'll let you know, but definitely if you want to connect with me, ch.llcanadian, that's my page, and thank you for listening, and I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful day. Thank you so much for listening. I really do appreciate it. Thank you.